Welcome to another Sit Down of Bibles and Bourbon, a place where Christians talk about controversial topics not so often talked about in the Christian circle. Today we have chosen to tackle one of the more controversial topics I think that we could possibly talk about, and that is abortion. 4 guys talking about abortion tonight. So we hope that this is going to be something that will challenge your thinking, confirm some of your beliefs, and at least open your mind, your eye to some of the ideas that we talk about tonight, and maybe some new things that maybe you've never heard of before. So guys, I wanted to go through and just kind of share some things that, before we really get to the crux of abortion, I wanted to at least bring up some background information that we should know about, that you should know about. And I'll try to make them brief, and then we'll get into the actual discussing a lot of this stuff. So one of the things is the abortion procedure. Not going into too much detail about all the different abortions, but it's pretty common knowledge about how a lot of abortions are done. But there's some type of scraping out of, you call it an embryo, fetus, whatever you want to call it, zygote, baby. That's what I'll call it. But there's some type of, or forceps, you're removing, you're tearing apart. There's a lot of procedure, but the abortionist takes out and they put it back together to see that the baby, they got everything, that there's not gonna be an infection. So there's definitely that gruesomeness of what an abortion is, but we're gonna put that aside right now. And the next thing I wanna talk about is just the foundation of where Planned Parenthood comes from. And I say Planned Parenthood specifically because they're the ones who do a ton of abortions in the United States. So the Margaret Sanger, the founder, like when I was your age, guys, Margaret Sanger, if I would have brought up that Margaret Sanger was racist, I would have been beaten with a bunch of no she wasn't, she was all women, this and that, and it would not have been pretty. Today, especially 2020, during 2020 and the Black Lives Matter and a lot of push for, against racism, it was really brought to light about Margaret Sanger's past, and that is a very racist past where she believed in eugenics, which is basically only the fit are able to reproduce, and the fit are not the poor, the fit are not blacks, and she had aligned herself, and she had spoken at KKK meetings and stuff. Like, she's very, very strong in that sense of, let's have abortions for getting rid of minorities. Kind of interesting to say that because statistically, you look at who has abortions, where abortion clinics are located, and they're in the inner city, they're in places of minorities, and the people who have them, a majority, at least a higher percentage of them, are blacks and Hispanics. So I think Margaret Sanger has accomplished what she wanted to, long after she's gone, of getting minorities to have a lot of abortions. So we're gonna put that aside as well, and we're gonna get to the topic of, guys, again, there's not a woman around this table. Do we have any right to talk about abortion? You hear pro-choice is definitely, my body, my choice type of comments. And so what can 4 guys talk about when it comes to abortion here? What's your initial thoughts?
I think the thing to just say right out of the gate is that for everyone, for us guys, and then for people watching, is that this is a controversial topic, and maybe some of the people watching, maybe you guys don't necessarily agree with what we say, or maybe we don't agree with each other, and I think that's okay. Having disagreement is perfectly fine. But finding that common ground and understanding why we think that way is important, and we're just here to talk about a topic and kind of just see what everyone's thoughts are on that. So that's what I gotta say.
Yeah, we don't claim to be perfect. We don't claim to be God. So, we can have a voice in this, but ultimately, we're just human. So,
I also think I don't personally have to be a thief to know that stealing is bad. So I think I don't necessarily need to be a woman to understand that having an abortion is wrong.
It's good.
Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro.
Guys, Roe versus Wade, the big Supreme Court that made all this happen. You know that Roe, since having that case and everything, she actually became a Christian, and she actually is very much like a pro-life now. I don't know if you would have even known that. You did not know that.
Roe.
She was like the whatever it was,
It was like the gateway lawsuit for abortions and stuff like that. It's where
That's crazy.
There's a long history of abortions.
Wait. The one that
Yeah.
basically the case that
Yeah.
made abortion illegal.
Yeah.
That woman is now a Christian,
it made it legal.
or helped to make it legal.
Yeah.
Yes, help
And now
pave the
she's
way
a
to-
Christian.
And now she's a Christian.
very much regrets that she was ever part of that. And yeah, exactly.
Let's make sure that's in the video. I did not know that.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
So one of the things, I think as we talked about all this stuff, and we're going to get into it, like scientifically speaking, okay, nobody can argue with every scientist, and then you have Christian scientists and all this stuff that are going to argue about abortion, obviously, but all the scientists will agree that at fertilization, an egg and sperm come together. At fertilization, a new life has been formed. There's new DNA, there's new blood, there's new everything starting to obviously develop, and it's very, very, if we're talking about zygote stage, it's a very undeveloped, but at that fertilization, there is new life that has formed. So basically, anything after that happens to, again, whatever you call that, zygote, fetus, embryo, baby, whatever has happened to that life has stopped. So that's at least one of the questions I'll bring up is it ever okay then that anyone would have the right to end that life?
Well, I just looked up here the Unborn Victims of Violence Act. It states law which recognizes an embryo or fetus in utero as a legal victim if they are injured or killed during the commission of any over 60 listed federal crimes of violence. The law defines child in utero as a member of species Homo sapien. That's a human.
I think what you're referring to is fetal homicide.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a case where one man, he killed a mother that was pregnant,
Yeah.
and he got charged with not one case of murder, but he got charged with 2 cases of murder. So if he got charged with 2 cases of murder, then they are recognizing that person, that is a human.
Right.
So therefore, it deserves basic human rights.
For those of you really cool on history and stuff like that, and murder, little bunny trail here, but that's the Lacey Peterson case where Scott Peterson had murdered his wife. It was big all over the news, like big time. That was covered in the news like crazy. Dayline's done it or whatever like that. But yes, Scott Peterson has killed Lacey, and she was pregnant, and boom, he double homicide. But New York State does not have that law, by the way. New York State, there's 38, I believe it's 38 states in the United States that have fetal homicide laws. New York does not. We live in New York, just in case you were wondering where we're all from.
It sucks.
So again, it's a life, okay? That is something being developed inside of a womb. That's a life. Is there ever a point where it would be okay to end that life?
I think
Well, you're kind of going into the spectrum trail.
I thought you would say that. Yep.
I mean, I only think the only time, it's not even taking a life like, okay, I don't want this, but it's more like the health of both individuals, the mother and the baby, and you have to really factor in those two. I don't know where that falls in your little chalkboard over there, if it does, but that is the only place in my heart that I feel right where you can maybe weigh what happens. You know what I mean?
Health of the mother, you said?
Health of the mother
Yeah.
and the child.
And the child. Okay.
So, all right. So I'm gonna talk about it. I've been waiting all night to talk about this. So,
Is that camera on him?
yes,
or?
the,
It is? Okay, good.
The camera
good.
over here is on.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I've been very excited to talk about this. I'm calling it the abortion spectrum. All right. You probably can't read it. Ignore my handwriting. But so
like an alien.
when I was in college, in my Phil and Ethics class, we talked about an abortion spectrum. So you always hear people say they're pro-choice or they're pro-life. That is a very wide spectrum. Okay?
Very broad.
Very wide spectrum. And there's a lot of in between where there may be some exceptions to what you believe and such. So let's get into it. So on the right, we have you're pro-life, like no abortion whatsoever, okay? That's pro-life. Now, a little step further. Some Christians believe that using contraceptives is wrong. Condoms, oral contraceptives, all kinds of things, like you don't do it. You don't use it. That's some people. Plan B. Some people believe Plan B is an abortion. Big debate on that. Some people think that's wrong. Then the next step. People say abortion is wrong, it's not good, but it's okay if the birth of the baby will kill the mom. So that's like an exception, I guess. Then a step further, you say all abortions are wrong, stuff like that, but the baby may die if delivered. So if the baby's gonna die, why not just have an abortion and have it? I'm not saying that's necessarily what I agree, but I'm just saying that could be someone's stance. Next, abortions are wrong, but the baby will be disabled or brain dead if I give birth to it. So if it's gonna be brain dead, why not just have an abortion and stuff like that? Again, not what I believe, but that's what some people say. Oh boy, this one gets me going. So, next one.
The most controversial, probably.
Very controversial. Everywhere I see, this is the number one argument, is abortion is okay if the mom was raped. All right? And the reason why I have an issue with this one, again, Ben Shapiro, that mothers having an abortion because of rape is a tiny percent. I don't.
Yes.
Tell me the percent.
Yes.
I believe Ben Shapiro said 14% of all abortions are, or 14% at the very max is rape and like incest.
I don't even that's
At
a
all.
high
That is very high.
That's a high percent. I think it was like 5 to 1.
Or it was 4 maybe.
I'm
It was
gonna
either
see
4 or
what I got.
14.
It was a
Look up, see
very
what I got.
low percent. And a lot of people argue this, but it is a low percentage.
I got it.
And then the next one, on the spectrum, you're getting closer to the pro-choice side, is the mom does not have resources or money for the child, so I'm going to have an abortion. That's more on the pro-choice side. And then the last one is the mom just does not want a baby. It's not good timing. It's not. It was unexpected. It was unplanned. And so I'm gonna have an abortion, and then everything is just pro-choice. All abortions are good. All of that.
I'm gonna stop you real quick. It says just 1% of women obtain abortions because they are pregnant through rape, and less than 0.5 do so because of incest. So not a very valid point, you know.
It's a tiny percent, but this is the spectrum.
Sure.
And the reason why I bring it up is because it is very difficult to say, per se, like I'm pro-life, pro-choice, because there is a lot of in between, and so there are things that you have to think about of where you believe in kind of the spectrum.
So, Mike, you're kind of saying like, hey, if somebody says, hey, they're pro-life, they may be pro-life, but they may be somewhere in the spectrum where, like, they may say, okay, I'm pro-life, but if it's gonna kill my wife, then I'm gonna be for abortion.
Right. And you can still identify as pro-life even though you have those exceptions. But I'm just saying that there may be exceptions based on your beliefs, because it's not just, I believe all abortions are wrong, because there are a lot of people have a lot of abortions for different reasons.
I think your spectrum is gonna cause some people to be pretty stirred up if you're a pro-lifer. I don't know about the pro-choicers, but I think the pro-lifers are gonna. Somebody who's like die hard all the way to the right is going to be like, absolutely not. You can't call yourself a pro-lifer unless you're all the way to the right. I think that. I think some people are going to be like, if you're pro-life, you got to be pro-life all the way. You cannot be like pro-life, but hey, the baby may be disabled when they're born, so it's okay. Or hey, my wife may die, so it's okay. Like, you either are pro-life and you think abortion's wrong and it's murder, and you cannot do it under any circumstances. I think that's what some people are going to think. They're not going to like your spectrum. Just throwing that out to you. But I do think that there are lots of people, Christians, non-Christians, whoever, that are just somewhere along there for sure. So I think that's a valid spectrum that people are there. Because, yeah, I know that there are definitely some diehard Christians that are like contraception. is like taking the pill is like not right, and that's that's not pro-life. And I think they're on the far extreme. That's why it is on the far right side of your spectrum there, because I think a lot of Christians are not there. A lot of Christians are totally about, hey, my wife takes the pill and we don't have kids. So yeah, you're right on that for sure. Where else are we going with this?
My body, my choice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm interested to see what you guys think about my body, my choice. Because my take on it is your body, but then when you have sex and make another baby, that is not only your body. That is not just your body, that is your body and another human's body.
Right.
So you can't, make that decision for the both of you. That's a decision, it's two people.
That's a good point.
I think so. The whole big thing on my body, my choice, and stuff like that. And I guess I'll say that I feel like that whole movement or belief, I feel like it is very one-sided. And Dad, I know you can back me up a little bit on that. You know some facts, but like I feel like women and stuff, they say my body, my choice. Like it's my body. I want to do what I want with it, and okay, like that's your right and stuff like that. But then like men don't always get the same the same treatment, or they're not treated the same way. We were talking earlier, and he was saying that back in one of the wars, what war was it, or the draft for the draft,
yeah.
That when they needed troops to get deployed, that men had to sign up for the draft, and when they were in the draft, they were forced to get their hair cut, to get all these things done to them without the right. Their body, their choice was gone. They were forced to enter the draft and to be basically controlled. And that law, that rule is still in place today. And there's so many more examples of where it's not equal in my eyes, where like, okay, like they like a guy and a girl, they have sex, and the guy doesn't want the baby, but the girl does want the baby, and then the guy is forced to have to pay for
Child support. Right.
But his body, his choice, like he was part of the process too. Like he can't back out of
It's
it.
very one-sided. Throughout the whole thing, it's very one-sided, like in the woman's favor.
Yeah.
I think-
she gets to make the choice, or she gets the money from it. So, like,
Yeah.
it is very one-sided, but we are also guys, so we are kind of one-sided ourselves.
Also, like the my body, my choice, the baby that was created is half and half equally 23 chromosomes of the mom, 23 chromosomes of the dad, minus, some exceptions in some cases where there's an extra one or a missing one. But most of the time it's 50-50, so the guy should have some say in that. 997872 or 9978.
23 chromosomes from the mom and 23 from the dad?
The math was wrong on that.
Yeah, it's...
Nope. I'm
That's
right.
46, guys. 46.
I'm right, you freaking idiots, you freaking nerds.
I'm criminal justice. I'm criminal justice.
23,
Justice
23.
put you
Come on
in
now.
jail, but he has no idea about his science.
46 chromosomes is
So-
isn't it?
I was doing some research on the phone. I didn't
It's
think
46.
so either, but you know what? Criminal justice and psychology. I was just doing some research, and did you know that 7% of understanding everything you comprehend is just written down? So if somebody says something to you, you're only getting 7% of that. When people look at like a pregnancy test and they're like, all right, I'm just gonna have an abortion, like, I don't want it. They actually, I just read an article, 90% of women who look at the ultrasound and look at the pictures and stuff like that change their mind. So I think it's very dependent on how you look at things. Like, they have to look at that. And once people see it, they do change their minds because they do see that it's a life.
Yeah, right.
So
I mean,
that
yeah,
is
it's
something
moving,
to
it's
look
kicking,
at.
like, yeah.
So, Mike, you were talking about the selective service, that if you're 18 years old and you're a guy, you have to register for the military. or whatever,
Yeah, during time of war.
And then, yeah, if there was
Draft.
a draft, a guy, again, only a guy would be drafted and be put into the military, where the military controls your body, controls everything about you. So, I mean, that's a very rare case.
How you eat, how you sleep.
Yeah.
What you look
When
like.
people say my body, my choice, like that, to me, that makes sense when, like, all right, you're going to die. Like, the mom is going to die. That's when it's like, okay, it is my body because it's her life on the line. So that's where I see when they say my body, my choice, but like that's not what they're saying. They're saying that for all abortions, not just if the mother will die.
Right. Actually, a couple of years back now, not too far ago, when Brett Kavanaugh was being nominated for Supreme Court, our Vice President Harris, when she was senator, she was drilling him about some things, and there was a question that she asked him, and he stumbled on, and he didn't have an answer for, and it was, she basically asked Brett Kavanaugh, can you think of a law that the government, that gives the government power to make decisions about the male body? And that's what your question was, you were kind of answering there, is, because that's from a woman's perspective, why the heck could anybody tell me what to do with my body? And that's good. Like I in a lot of ways I agree with that. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, it is your body, and I don't want anybody telling me about my body. But there are times when those things do come into play, and obviously the draft would be one of them. Every one of us has gone to a public school, right? Every one of us has gone to a public school, so we've all been forced. Our bodies have been forced to be vaccinated. Okay, we have to get them. I don't have a body, it's not my body, my choice, we have to. If you work for certain agencies, certain organizations, companies, they can drug test you, okay? They can, I worked at a couple of them where they've done that. I've had to give them samples of my hair and stuff like that, and they do drug tests. Like
As an athlete, I have to get drug tested if they so decide.
You have to?
I have to.
You have to.
If they think that I'm taking, I have to get drug tested.
Okay, yeah, so the athletic world, totally. Yeah, any professional athlete, they're getting drug tested. It's not, it's not your body, your choice. It's not, no, you want to play, then you're getting a blood test or whatever. So there's that example. Trying to think what other ones there was.
For every reaction, there's like a reaction, or for every action there's a reaction.
Opposite.
Yeah, and it's like so kind of the thing is like, if you want to play the sport, then you have to get drug tested, and it's kind of like, if you want to get an abortion, that's murder. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
what the heck was that?
I think that
I
was
think
me.
it was AC, but with that, you could be like, well, with every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you want to play sports, you have to do this. Okay, well, if you were smart enough to have sex, and maybe those, 1%? Outside that 1% of things like incest and rape, like there is a reaction to that. Like, you should follow through with that. And I just read on this, the thing that said 90% of women change their minds. Someone said, like, it's almost like failing as a mother automatically when you go to do that. So yeah, I like that. There is an equal and opposite reaction. Like, you were smart enough to do that. And there's ways to get around that. I feel like we're going to talk about that at some point. Mm-hmm.
There's also controversy about like people saying if they shut down abortion clinics, then people aren't going to be able to have safe abortions. Quoting Ben Shapiro
Right.
again, what is classified as a safe abortion? Because if there's a safe abortion, then the baby does not survive. There is no abortion
I see what you
that
mean,
ends in a baby
Mother's
living.
safe, more than likely, but
Yeah,
the
but-
baby,
Still
Yeah,
life.
that's,
the
you
life
know,
is gone.
you're halfway safe.
Unsafe. Yeah.
So it's like
safe.
there is zero abortion that's done correctly that the baby lives. So how is that safe? It's not
Good point.
safe.
I
So-
like that.
And wait, if there's a million abortions being done legally every year,
There is, yeah.
and if more than that probably, but
1.2.
if they're 1.2, if they are able to shut down at least, half of that, then that's saving
Right.
600,000 babies. That's,
Yes. I
you
think the
know.
number, although I'm sure somebody really strong on the pro-life side will say it's larger, but I've read the number being 40 million abortions have happened in the last 40 years.
Yeah, and it's like if people are doing it illegally and only 50,000 are doing it,
Yeah.
you know, versus 1.2 million that are doing it legally, then you just saved a boatload of babies.
Okay, so I need to help the viewers. It seems like we're all talking and we all agree that abortions is wrong. So for our viewers, like, what is the answer? Like, okay, no abortion. Then what do we do?
Right. I think because Mark was bringing up something that, I mean, that's part of where abortion becoming legal kind of came from, is that if you don't have it legal, then there's going to be a bunch of illegal doctors out there doing crap, and then it's going to become an unsafe situation for the baby and the mother. Okay, so it's going to be, 100% unsafe.
Then they'll stop doing them.
No, I don't think they will. I think that's the history behind it, is just saying that women will go off and do it anyways.
And,
It's just gonna be
risk their life, you think?
They did it then. They're going to do it now. Yes, I think so. I think so.
Those numbers will be super low, though.
It'll be way lower.
They'll be
than-
way lower
Yes.
because,
I
if Jenny's getting an abortion and she dies and Abby's her friend and Abby's trying to get an abortion,
Yeah,
she'll be less inclined to want to have that abortion
That's true.
because her friend died.
that's true.
So-
Yeah, we don't want that to happen though.
You still didn't answer my question.
What?
What's the answer to no abortion then? What do we do?
I don't think there is an answer. Like I said, we don't claim to be
There's an
Jesus.
answer. There is an answer, and someone needs to answer the answer.
What kind of
answer
Common
the
Core
answer.
math was that?
There's an answer.
What's the answer?
Oh, I think I know the answer. So one of the arguments is, a lot of the arguments that women will say they can't have the child is because, hey, I'm in the middle of life right now, I can't, or I've already had all of my children and my husband and wife don't want it anymore, or like I can't financially afford it, so I got to get rid of this baby by killing the baby. And I think what Mike's leading to is the answer is, well, why don't we just help the adoption situation, right? Because hey, because that's what a lot of women will do, is they will say, I'm gonna hold on to the child because I don't believe in abortion, but I can't, for the same reasons. I'm in education, I can't afford, I've had all my kids, whatever. The same reasons that a woman would have abortion, they're faced with the same situation, but they say, hey, I'm gonna give birth because I believe in pro-life, but I'm going to give the baby up for adoption. And then the problem then, Mike, is, and I'm sure our viewers would say, the problem will be then there's 40 million. If there's 40 million abortions, now there's 40 million kids in our country that need parents. And now we're overwhelming the adoption agencies.
We also do have people that wait years and years just to get a call back and, said that they are able to adopt somebody.
Yeah.
So I
Not
would
throwing
say-
names out, but you know who.
You're saying the answer is to stop
Yeah.
focusing on abortions and move the focus and the attention and the money over to these
Oh, yeah.
agencies that help give kids
Yeah.
good families.
Dude, it's so
That want them.
It is so expensive to adopt a kid. Why?
Seriously.
Like, why? It's so much
A
easier.
lot of money.
It's way easier to be like, I just want an abortion.
And
than
even
to adopt.
and even with how much how much an adoption is, there's still thousands and thousands and thousands of parents and couples that want to adopt, even though it costs so much.
Yeah.
So lessen the price, and even more couples may want to adopt.
And so I don't understand why we don't push that. And like, I see a lot of Christians pushing to close down Planned Parenthood, but I don't hear them talking about helping these adoption agencies or foster care or stuff like that. Like, I hear Christians push the non-Planned Parenthood, but no alternative.
Right.
And I think if Christians, they kind of did more of that, if they helped with that process, then that would help a lot. But like for me, like as you guys are talking, and I think a little bunny trail is like, I think really what stems with the whole issue of abortion is kind of the view that the world has on sex. Taking the 1.5% of the rape and incest away from the picture, all the other people, like, they're having sex and they want an abortion. And a lot probably are a younger population, and they think, oh, I'm just going to have sex because I want to. I'm not going to wait till marriage and stuff like that. But, like, when you have sex, I think it's important that, like, they realize, like, if you're having sex, there's a chance you could have a kid.
Right.
Like, there's a chance you can have a kid. And I don't think a lot of people grasp that when they're having sex, but you may have a kid by having it, and you need to think about that because, like, that is a legit possibility that can happen.
So maybe Planned Parenthood and all that, let's take the focus away. Let's throw it all towards adoption, lowering the costs, and maybe what about education? Because, I mean, that's something we're not really taught as kids or in high school. I was never taught, like, I don't know. Yeah, you learned about all that, but there was no really focus on, like, if you even, I'm not going to say it, but, like, you commit that act, there is a chance. Like, we're not really talking about that. They always just talk about safe sex and all that stuff, but they never really tell you the big punch. Like, there is a good chance, no matter what. There's a chance.
You're like taking that chance, you know, and there's, you know, could happen. I think people nowadays, they have a evil perception on abortion as well. Like, I was watching TikTok, and I actually saw a TikTok of this person that, I'm going to kill a baby today, and she was like smiling and laughing and all that, and it was just like so disgusting because like she's like, she knows what she's doing. It's not like I don't have money to do this, I don't blah blah blah. She wants to have that abortion. Like, she's like happy about it, and like she's excited for it.
That may be on the video, like she may be putting that, but I don't know a single person that enjoyed having an abortion. Having abortions are painful. They take a toll on the mom. They are not an easy thing to do. So though that may have been a perception,
I think it was before she actually had it that she filmed it.
On the video, but it's not something that's like something easy that you can do. It's very traumatizing, scars you for life. Like, I don't know one person that's like it doesn't affect them in the long term. And that's another reason why I believe it is a sign that it's wrong, is because you don't feel good about it after. And that goes the same thing when you sin. When you sin, you feel guilty. You don't feel good when you sin. And so when you have an abortion, you're not going to feel good about it. You're going to feel bad. And that's what every single mother feels.
On that, if you do something and like it's hurting you, or like, you know, mentally or physically, it's probably not the greatest thing to be doing. Like, if you're getting hurt from something, it's probably not good to do in the first place. And exactly like what Mike said, if you're feeling remorse about it, then it's definitely not something to repeat or, you know, want to or be excited to do. Like, that's not smart.
So the one thing we didn't address tonight is Bibles and bourbon. What does the Bible say?
I mean, it talks about Jesus knitting you together in your mother's womb. I mean, I've heard pastors say, like, you were predestined before the word destiny was ever in the dictionary, which means long before you were even born, Jesus knew about you, knew everything. So I would say, according to the Bible, it is wrong, abortion in and of itself.
Abortion's, it's kind of like a slap in the face to God as well, because God has a certain plan for you, and if you're disrupting that plan, and God has a plan for that baby, and whatever you think in your mind, God still has a plan for that baby no matter what. And if you're killing that baby, then you're just taking away the plan and kind of slapping God in the face and saying, we don't care.
It's selfish.
Yeah, it's very selfish. Before the babies, and God has a plan for you, and God has a plan for the baby. It's a plan for all.
I think you were quoting Jeremiah.
Hey.
1:4-5 says, now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you, I appointed you a prophet to the nations. And then in Psalm 139:13-15 says, for you were formed in my inner parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret. And I'll say those are great, but I'm going to go back to Exodus 20:13. It says, thou shalt not kill. I mean, that's where I'm gonna go with.
Straightforward.
That's good. Okay, something that when you read that, so that verse that says, "You have woven me in my mother's womb."
Yeah.
Like when I think of someone weaving something together, like it's a process. It takes some time, and I feel like that's the same thing with the baby growing. It's a process. It grows and stuff like that, and God has woven you in your womb, and like it kind of correlates right with pregnancy and like the baby kind of growing, and it goes together. So I haven't really thought of the verse kind of like that, but I like that.
Yep. There was a 2019 Gallup poll, and I just want to give you some stats. Maybe this will get edited out or not, but 48% of Americans in the Americans are pro-choice, 46 pro-life. So it's pretty split. Now, some will argue the Gallup poll, whether it's biased, this and that, but it's a pretty split. You know, I think a lot of social media would like us to think that, oh my gosh, there's 80% of us that are all about pro-choice and only 20% of Americans are pro-life. No, it's actually pretty split, whether the numbers are off a little bit. 68% of Republicans are pro-life, 72% of Democrats are pro-choice. Independents, 48% are pro-life, 44% pro-choice, so independents lean a little bit more towards pro-life. And those who attend church weekly, 71% are pro-life, 23% pro-choice. It's interesting. I like that it said attended church weekly, because that's like, you kind of think, okay, that person's like a
They're in it.
dedicated,
Yeah.
they're a serious church-going, Bible-believing Christian type person that goes weekly. So
Guess it also depends on your church. Like we said a couple weeks ago.
yeah,
Like reforming.
Yeah, progressive Christianity.
good point. Yeah, yeah. They
So-
attend church, whatever that church is.
Yeah.
weekly. Yeah.
So that was a big topic. Thank you guys for watching. I would encourage you guys. I watched a movie called Unplanned, and that movie was a very hard movie to watch, and it really helped kind of see light to this kind of topic. So I encourage you guys to watch it. We're going to keep making these videos. Comment down what you thought of this or any ideas you want us to do in the future. And thank you for watching. Catch you next week.